Hello everyone, welcome back to day 2 of our TFC GE2025 special. I'm very excited to be here. Yesterday the traction was quite good, right? So thanks for staying with us, a few thousand of you. Thank you. And we specifically chose this time, because the rallies are coming after this, right? So with me today, once again, Adrian has signed up for a 7-day program.
9 days?
9 days, he's going to take some time off in the middle. But yes, for our audience that for some reason don't know you want to do a quick intro?
Hello everyone, I'm Adrian, LinkedIn top noise, author of the book No More Bosses. I do marketing, that's my main thing, and also I do podcasts as well.
Yeah. He has a quite long running already, right? The Adrian Tan show.
Very
I always tell him the
running.
name very hard because too many Adrian Tan.
I know.
Yeah, but you're the only Adrian Tan that is doing all these things. Right?
Exactly.
It is what it is, so check out the show.
And of course we have guests.
One guest.
One guest. The other person late.
Yeah, that person late. So that's a challenge with live stream.
Yeah. And that's a challenge with GRC.
Yeah, see, we cannot form.
We cannot nominate.
Yeah, we cannot nominate ourselves. We failed already. We lost already. But yes, Anthony back with us today.
Yes.
Yeah. For our audience that don't know you.
I'm Anthony. I'm one of the co-hosts of the TFC show, but primarily do investments, and once in a while come and talk about Singapore politics and jobs because I need a job. Right? That's really all I am on.
That's your big thing. That's your big thing. Yes. And Dawn is on her way. That's the difficult part of doing live stream, but it is what it is. We will come back here. She will join us very quickly. She's running in. So yes, today we're going to talk a little bit more about jobs, right? So the usual few of us, we got a lot of things to say about jobs, right? So that is for later. But before that, let's do a public service announcement, okay? So public service announcement today. Okay, actually, I wanted to do every day, cover a little bit of the news on what happened, but clearly not a lot of things happened yet.
Today quite muted.
Right? Yeah, quite muted. Very quiet.
Tonight.
Yeah. I think tonight is the big night because tonight is where all the rallies are gonna start, right? So public service announcement to all of you on your way home or on your way to the rallies. If you didn't know yet, these are the 5 major rallies that are happening, tonight. So the first one is at Temasek Junior College, very near Tampines. So this is the electoral division of Tampines GRC. The party will be People's Power Party. Okay, honestly, I don't know them, and I don't know. Is it Goming Singh? I think so. Yeah. But anyway, never mind. So I've made some thoughts around this. Okay. Second one, which is I think quite interesting, will be at Catholic High School. For Marymount SMC, that will be the Progress Singapore Party. You can head over. All of them generally start about 7. Right. So as you're on your way there, please stay tuned with the live stream. We'll give you coverage. And then Woodlands Stadium will be Marsiling UT GRC. Very likely you will see Prime Minister there. Right. This is GRC, right? So that would be the PAP. And there's another one in Sengkang, which is field near the Vales condo. I don't know. It's like there's a field near the Vales condo.
It's okay. Next time it'll be a HDB.
Okay. It's Anchorvale Crescent. For if you already know the place, for the benefit of all of us that don't know where's this field near the Vales condo, please put the Google link in the comment section below. But this is Sengkang GRC for the Workers' Party, and the last one will be at Choa Chu Kang Stadium, also for Marsiling UT GRC by the SDP, Singapore Democratic Party, which once again I say the manifesto very hard to read, but we do our best. Okay, so that's public service announcement for all of you. I have not been to a rally,
Really?
Yeah, I've not been to a rally. I have not. Have you all been to a rally? You probably been to a rally.
I've been to one before.
Yeah. No. I'm not being ageist, okay? But the situation is, I think when we started voting, I think the first vote, as with a lot of Gen Zs experiencing today, you don't really know what's going on. You're really voting for good feel, or your parents say what you will vote, or at least during our time. I think nowadays the Gen Zs are a bit more informed, or perceived to be informed because they consume a lot of content online.
To us.
Yeah, so thank you. To be fair, we don't have a very big Gen Z audience. We got a lot of millennials and elder millennials around. But we welcome the Gen Zs to stick around. So I've not been to a rally ever. And then of course there's COVID. So yeah, I plan to visit a rally. Right. So have you been to a rally? You sound like you've been to
one.
Yeah. How was your first rally experience?
Very crowded, very hot.
Same.
Not as sexy anymore.
I mean, and I think it's a bit of a change in the media landscape, right? 2-3 election cycles back, everything was just through mainstream media. You would just report on rallies. Now you just listen to podcasts on your way home.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? I think the way information is disseminated has changed, or you just scroll Reddit,
Yeah.
like we all do.
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
And last time life very boring. lah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like an election, a rally, like looks very fun. lah.
Yeah, yeah,
At least that was what I was thinking back then.
So was it fun?
It was hot and humid. lah.
Okay.
Not very fun.
So the only fun thing is a panorama shot around. Like, so, wow, it's huge.
No,
Some of the
the
rallies
fun
are
thing now will be
huge.
all the memes around it.
Oh, okay, yeah. So hopefully the memes will help us generate some traffic over the course of the next few days. Of course, we hold ourselves to being accountable. You know, we do want to continue to cover policies and all that, but for the fun of it, this is what it is. So yes, maybe for a start, right? I have decided to, for every live stream that we start, we ask 2 questions, you know, for everybody, so that we can get updated. Because truth of the matter is, even all of us are still kind of like learning on the go, like what's happening, who is doing what, who is saying what, who is competing where, and then what is this where, right? So we are learning on the fly. So we'll keep you updated. But the 2 questions that I want to ask every day will be, what has been catching your attention about this GE, and who has caught your attention as a candidate? Right, so hopefully every day you evolve a little bit, right? You learn something else about another person. So we can cover enough candidates over time. Okay, so yeah, maybe for a start, anybody want to take a jab at it?
Yeah, I can go first. I think who I'm quite excited to learn more about, Harpreet Singh.
Oh.
Right, cliche. But I think partially also because I've heard him speak quite a few times. As a lawyer. Very impressive. He's one of those very calm, very measured. So he's not the kind of rally that will go and scream and shout, right? But he'll be very calm, measured, sound very intelligent, kind of. So quite interested to see how that translates into how he works on the ground. I'm sure he will join a debate and he'll be great at that. But it's more, you can be smart and intellectual and all that. But how does that relate to your town council work, right? Which is also a part of being an MP. So I think that is something I'm quite interested to look out for. And something that I'm excited about, and this is quite a broad team, is that there are so many young people running. It's amazing, right? Younger than me, and I actually think that that's something to be admired, whether you are running as an independent, or we'll have Jeremy come on the show a few days later, whether you are kind of joining WP as a more established party. I don't think the PAP really has that many 30-something-year-olds. They all seem to be a bit older.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe this is a sign of the shifting demographics. If you are somebody in the civil service or somebody who's in a professional career, you want to enter politics, maybe the opposition parties are an easier route than trying to enter the PAPT party and catch the eye of somebody and rise your way up the ranks, right?
There's a whole machinery there.
No, there are people who are earmarked already.
Yeah.
People my age are not running, but they're earmarked that they'll be running either the next or next month. And you can see them preparing.
Like how are they preparing?
So we had a RI reunion the other day, and our head boy that year was a president scholar. Right, so the pickle earmarked. He's now in the US doing his second masters on the government's time in Harvard, doing government or public policy or whatever course. Don't know what he learned, but that's the course that he's doing, right? And then at our reunion, he obviously couldn't attend, so he gave a speech, and then everybody immediately had a speech say, so he should have ended it with, "I am running this year, please support me," because it just sounded like a typical PAP election speech.
Really?
Right? Very stern, very straightforward. "I am doing this, thank you for joining," yada yada yada. No emotion. So he is earmarked to run, and he will run, and he'll do very well because he's a good guy. But I think
he's a good guy just reminds me of trust me.
No. I mean, I like him, right? I liked him in school. I'm not really in touch with him anymore, but I like him. I like his wife. His 2 kids. So on track.
But that's for later, right?
But that's for 10 years later. I think.
That's for later, yeah. But even on the note of Harpreet, right? I mean, I heard some of his interviews with Yalabat and all that. It's not very... Not a lot. For me, I think there's not a lot of discussion. Around it. So I feel like it is there's a lot more to discuss. Like the policy paper of the WP. And that whole thing that I feel like it's quite empty at this point. At least from Harpreet point of view.
But I mean that's the thing, right? Like how much as an individual do you get to affect the party's manifesto or the party's philosophy,
Yes.
especially if it's your first time coming.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So if you are Pritam, sure, right, you have a very big say.
Whatever
Macam my
he
friend,
say goes.
right?
Ah,
Whatever he
Pritam,
says goes.
yeah.
But if you are kind of the new joiner, you're not really imposing your style.
Yeah,
You're
like
not
our new
imposing
joiner.
Yeah.
new joiner.
We have our GLC now.
Our GLC is back, although we failed the nomination time frame, but GLC is in. Adjust the mic to fit you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's good. But
Okay,
I think he'll be fine. And on young people, I'm just very excited by the fact that people our age, they are putting themselves forward, putting themselves in the public eye, making that sacrifice, even though it's not likely to win.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah. And what about you? Who is catching your attention? What is something that is interesting?
My ability to process information a bit slow because there's just so much information out there. But yesterday I observed something during our first live stream. Our DEI not very good.
Our DEI.
Yeah. So I particularly
Sorry. Our DEI is not that it's not very good. It's just for some reason a lot of the women in our network are very busy and very professional. So we are squeezing their time, so it will take some time. Yeah. But they're all coming in today, tomorrow, more and more. Yes.
So I particularly pay more attention to the female candidate.
Okay.
And I started with Diana Pang.
Who is Diana Pang?
She's one of the candidate who got in already. Marine Parade one. Because ultimately the thing about it is who is standing actually not so important. Who got in is the more important one.
Okay.
Because ultimately they actually have the power to take action.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did some background search about her. Private sector people, and been doing grassroots work for about 20 over years. It sounds like the right fit lah. The other guy, new guy, I can't remember the name, Army lah, the one standard lah. It's the same lah. Same but different lah. I'm not sure how many more Army officer we need lah.
But PAP all got the same. Now got 2 modes or 3 modes already, right? Scholar, Army or Navy, high ranking, and do social work. Entrepreneur.
But imagine a
hard luck
kitchen,
story.
all executive chef. No sous chef, no. Anyway, that's another thing lah.
Have.
So the
I'm
other interesting candidate, my wife showed me this morning, Alexis.
Pongo, is it?
The WP.
WP, is it?
WP one,
Running in Pongo? Okay,
yes,
okay.
yeah. As the speech that she made in Mandarin. Very
At
eloquent.
Zao Bao, right?
Very eloquent because she lived in Taiwan for the longest time. And it reminded me of Chen Shoumao. You all remember Chen Shoumao?
I know Chen Shoumao.
When he came into a scene, because he also, I think, part Taiwanese or something, also very eloquent in Mandarin. Yeah, but having said that, I mean, back then, Chen Shoumao came in, we were like, wow, Rhodes Scholar, and all that. And then
After that, also nothing.
Yeah, also
sorry.
nothing.
Yeah, really.
The truth is the truth lah.
Truth.
Because spade is spade
got a
lah.
lot of good things to
If
say
he wants to
about.
come on and tell us why.
Yeah. Chen Shoumao, we welcome you. Not now because limited airtime.
Yes.
Yeah.
But of course, also picked up the fact that she is pretty young. Yeah, and I think really kudos to all these young people because social media commentaries are savage.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Savage. Wow, you go and read the comments, you go into depression.
I know, I don't even read the comments. It's too much.
Do you read our YouTube comments?
I try not to. Only when there's a need to. But yes, but you should comment, right? Yeah, you comment, you help the algorithm. Even if I don't read, you should comment. But actually, most of the time we do lah.
Yeah,
we do. We read. We do. Yeah, it informs our content. Based on what we want to discuss. So, even if you have certain candidates that you want us to, have a little look at and all that, share our point of view, put it in the comment section, and then we will collect it, and then maybe over the course of the next few other live stream, we can talk a little bit about it lah.
And these few days, a lot of spam bots going around. You want some of the traffic also?
It's okay. But I can feel it. I know what you mean. Like, a lot of the comment section very weird one. But anyway. So yeah, but it's true. The first day is a muted day. So I actually had a bit more time to look and kind of use a bit more bandwidth to kind of look at who is interesting. So I think the guy that caught my eyes was Andre Loh. Yeah, from WP.
Why so?
Because he's running in Jalan Kayu against Ng Chee Meng. Alright. So firstly, Jalan Kayu is quite a young estate, in terms of the broader population. Because it encapsulates Seletar, which is an old estate. There got a lot of landed houses, and some of the condos that have come out in the recent times. And then the Fernvale area is where a lot of younger families are, right? And a lot of Fernvale people used to be Hougang, Sengkang people. Okay, so it's like they are second gen all shift there, right? So I mean, I'm speaking for a lot of my cousins, so I do kind of get a sense of like, okay, Fernvale is stacked with a lot of people that are not so diehard PAP fans, I'm not sure if they are diehard WP fans, but it's a bit more like toss, right? There is something here that could happen, but I checked with Wally say, no leh, don't look like it. So and because there's no clear indicator as to what is the issue that they are running on, but if you look at the comment section and you watch some of his videos, I think a lot of people like him for his earnest energy. Reminds them, of maybe like James or some of the other people that are a bit more.
It's the drive of youth.
Yeah. It's the that type of energy. But we would appreciate more discussion, from a policy level. I think he went on Walid's podcast. So never mind, it's okay. You're just going to listen to Walid's podcast. He will grill all the candidates, right? So they tarik with Walid. Listen to the episode with Andre. I thought it's cool. And I think it would be very interesting if he won, right, against Ng Chee Meng, right? That's the end of Ng Chee Meng, right? That's the end, because he I don't think he can keep his NTUC seat anymore, right? And it's a bit of a, some people are saying it's a bit of a referendum on NTUC's recent saga, right? Although NTUC is very big, so he's probably not on top of the deal specifically, but if you're so high ranking, you cannot say that you never seen the deal.
I mean,
right?
you approve it, right?
Yeah, you probably you cannot deflect, right?
So it's a big deal.
Yeah, so that's the part that I think is a baggage, for him, and the fact that he lost Sengkang, is also a little bit of a sign that maybe he doesn't resonate with the younger crowd, and he does give me the feeling that he's not going to roll up his sleeves, like he gave me the feeling that he's already been high flyer for a long time, and it's very normal. A lot of high flyers have this situation because you're very busy, right? And then you got a lot of things, so you're not so on the ground. Maybe that's what turned the Sengkang people away from him, So if I want to see whether he can win Jalan Kayu, and if he cannot win Jalan Kayu, then it's quite a clear sign, right? That's the end of his political career, And we welcome you to come and talk, Ng Chee Meng. Okay, you are welcome. Yeah, so that's it for me. I don't want it to be too contentious. We have many more days to go. But yeah, Don, what about you? Any interesting thing that caught your eyes?
Actually, tonight, the rallies are starting. So we should do a live coverage.
Cannot lah, that one a lot of work. We already do a lot of things already. Yeah.
I think this time round, the policies are quite interesting. Some are borderline. I felt it's very idealistic, but not really practical. So it'll be interesting to see that being debated in Parliament, if any at all, if any of those parties get through it. But yeah, I think honestly, it's really just a lot of interesting new suggestions and proposals that have been brought forward. Everyone seems to be in alignment of the issues that
I think so. They all got the memo.
Yes.
Yeah, they all got
right?
the memo.
It's like more or less the same theme.
Yeah.
There are certain keywords, very standard
certain
one.
keywords, cost of living, jobs, wages,
aging, elderly population, children. Yeah. So I think it's really more of how they debate and figure out what's best. But also this is where I'm reminded, in honest truth, when I was reading the PAP manifesto and the policies that they put forth, it just felt like, we know this already.
Yeah.
We've heard this 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's partly because, they're the ruling party. So to be fair, we have heard their point of view for many years. That's all that gets promoted in the media anyway. But it also didn't really feel like they were proposing anything new or refreshing. Whereas the opposition gave, as always, they always give a lot more things for us to think about.
I would not say as always. I think the manifestos for the opposition over time has gotten better and better.
Yes. But there are some new ones that are still a bit, maybe you're still learning the ropes.
So it's normal, right? It's like a startup, right? When you first start, there's nothing much. And then you get to a SME size, you got enough people, or you scale up, right? They call it scale up.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of do a bit more. So I do think even the opposition, or specifically, I think the Workers' Party, the SDP, the PSP manifestos are a lot thicker, right? With tangible ideas or potential ideas. You cannot say definitely it is workable, but it is interesting to hear their point of view, because truth be told, everybody is operating under the PAP parameter, right? So everybody in developing their policy is working, on that as a premise. So maybe we can start lah. So we're gonna break up today's live stream into two parts, as usual from yesterday. The first part, we're gonna spend some effort to talk about jobs and wages. That's our favorite. Every time you see this panel, right, we're gonna talk about this, right? Jobs and wages, and then we'll push it into investing and all that, but jobs and wages first, right? So I wanted to lay the land for a bit of manifesto discussion, on all the different manifestos, because yesterday we already had like a very high level overview. We did spend a bit more time talking about housing and all that. That will be another one. I think we need to spend that time. But today we'll focus on jobs and wages, right? So any particular thing that stood out to you based on the different manifestos?
The first one that I went in to have a good look is Workers' Party. Because as a naming convention, I think they should be more
Are they
solid.
running at No, they're not running at your area.
They're not. Let's not talk about that sad
Okay.
story.
He's a Pasir Ris
Changi.
Pasir Ris Changi. Okay.
To be honest, when you look at, if you're trying to find new stuff, it isn't exactly new because over the time, they have always been advocating something similar. Minimum wage raising some ceiling, tying to EP to skills transfer, etc. But I think overall, some of the key interesting aspect is really to expand the usage of skills future credit to AI subscription wall. That one quite trending now, of course,
marginal.
Yes,
in my point of view, it's like marginal. I look at that as a feeler. It's not going to change anything.
You know, probably ChatGPT recommend.
Self-interest.
Self-interest.
Skills future should include me.
And only me.
And only me.
Exclusive. There will be an enterprise list somewhere. Exclusive. We must draw a line.
Yeah. So the Workers' Party part, I think overall is, in a way, many aspects is really tweaking tweaking whatever they have mentioned. And of course, over the PSP part, somewhat similar as well. Of course, the leveling would be a bit different. The minimum wage bearing is also a bit different. So I think overall, nothing exactly pop out and give me the feeling that, wow, this one is a real solid idea. But having said that, of course, again, it's always in the pudding. How are they going to really fund this, to execute this? But having said that, I think that is the party's problem to solve.
Okay. So what do you think about the unemployment insurance? Because I think there are two parties that brought it up. Right, and that's probably the talk of the town, confirm, right? Because it's kind of benchmarked to the recent Skills Future, what's that?
Job
seeker support scheme, right? So use it as a reference, because I think the Workers' Party has debated this with PAP in Parliament, right? And PAP, being the ruling government today, has decided against some sort of an insurance structure, right? And they have chose to fund this thing through a taxpayer system. Essentially just means the government will pay out based on the grants like they give you if you meet all the criteria. Yeah. So maybe we can have a little bit of that part first. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, what the PAP did sounds extremely nice in theory.
Okay, maybe I lay the land first. Yeah. Okay, so let me just talk a little bit about the Skills Future Job Seeker Support Scheme. Okay, so the Skills Future Job Seeker, I feel like Skills Future should pay me money to talk about these things. But anyway, right? So the Skills Future Job Seeker Support Scheme is a scheme that will give you up to 6,000 over the course of 6 months to workers who lose their jobs involuntarily. Essentially means you get terminated or the company closed or whatever. Okay, so
provided that you show you're actively trying and you're also upgrading.
Exactly. So this is the part who is eligible, right? So you must be a Singaporean citizen or a PR age 21 and above. Okay, so it includes PR, have earned an average of 5,000 or less per month in the last 12 months, live in a residential property with annual value of 25,000 or less, which means anything smaller than a 1-bedroom condo. Okay, although this NAV thing is a black box, but there's a general precedence that you can take reference from. Okay, been actively looking for a job, like what Don said, have been unemployed for at least 6 months, have been employed for at least 6 months in the past 12 months. That means you cannot just be like unemployed, okay?
You cannot be a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah, it cannot be, cannot. Have been unemployed for at least 1 month, have received have not yet received payout from the scheme in the preceding 3 years. Okay, so the whole idea is for the first month, if you meet all the criteria, you get 1,500, second month 1,250, third month 1,000, and then 750. Okay, so it is very marginal. Okay, at least from my point of view lah. Yeah. So that is the level where the ruling government of the day is willing to go to support you through your job seeker transition.
So in total 6,000 lah.
6,000.
1 month drive Grab can make lah.
Yeah.
No, but I think that's maybe the point, right? Like, let's say if you are slightly giving the benefit of the doubt, maybe you are slightly lower earning, you got retrenched. You know, they don't want you to. My immediate recourse is to go drive Grab, do Grab delivery, right, to make ends meet. I give you a little bit of money. Hopefully, you survive. You can do not say Grab is an improper job, but you can do a job that was more similar to what you were doing before, rather than everybody just deviating directly to the gig economy because
Which
the gig
looks like it,
economy-
right? Yeah.
So I feel like it's this sort of shift, right? That they just want to focus on this part first, right? Make sure that the gig economy doesn't keep expanding, because if it does, then actually everybody's in trouble.
Yeah, and I think honestly, out of all my peers or friends or even parents of friends who get unemployed, the first thing I always see is they just go drive Grab.
It's
And then correct. It's the easiest and the fastest way to make ends meet or do food delivery. But then the trap that they fall into is that you get so consumed by the work because it's very labor and hour intensive.
Yeah.
And
There's
as
no
a
upside.
result, yes, exactly. So you're just throwing, and on top of that, because the supply gets more, your earnings go down. So you keep on having to, compensate with more and more. As a result of that, I realized that the people who leave their jobs or get unemployed, right, and then they go down that path, they really don't have the time to upskill. Much less talk about finding a job. And I think on our podcast, we've talked about how you really need to be very strategic, to be sincere. The way you craft a job. Yes, it's like a full. Someone said this on one of our episodes. It's a full-time job looking for another full-time job. Yeah, and they don't have that time anymore. So I think this helps. But aside from that, full-time unemployment benefits, right? It's also worth noting that there's a part-time job seeker support grant.
JSSS. Just acronym.
That's the part-time one
I don't think the
also.
government want you to call it unemployment.
Okay.
But it's okay.
But we all understand the gist of it.
Yeah. Please go. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's also worthwhile to mention that there's a part-time one, right?
Which is the one where you upskill, is it? While you're learning to upskill.
Correct. You learn
So that's
part-time.
That's a different. It is when you lose your job while you're searching. There's a transitionary support, right? And then the other one is if you want to go into full-time learning, which I believe you probably can do it in tandem, right? And then
but they said you can only claim one scheme every 3 years.
You can claim once from this scheme every 3 years.
I think it's all schemes.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. It cannot be. How can you do that, right? If you scope this transitionary scheme, which is a much lower value, against the other scheme, which is of a much higher value that brings you into learning, that's up to 3,000 a month. So like, how can you not allow people to claim double?
Yeah. So I think it might be that if you claim that one, the transition one.
To be clear, have not received any payout from the scheme. Okay, not the other schemes. Okay, because
so it's not one or the other.
SkillsFuture has tons of schemes. Yeah. So that is that. Okay. Yeah. But I think the idea here is that it is still at a very low level in terms of the support, right? Because it's marginal to people like us, right? So to our audience that are tuning in, they make a much higher salary, they break the ceiling. Essentially, you are still on your own.
Yes.
Anything to say there?
It is the way it is. That's the way the Singapore government wants you to behave, right? You have made some money, you better save yourself. If you're in trouble, you go save yourself, right? We are not really here to save you, right? And I think that's the reality of.
Or at least you're giving something now than last time.
No, but you're priced out. You are priced out for sure.
If you got fired, you wouldn't get it because your pay is too high.
Yeah, your pay is too high, so you get priced out of it.
Yeah,
and I would argue that actually it is these people that needs the most transitionary support. So I mean, I'm not saying the middle class working professional don't need the support. I'm saying like they are your high functioning individuals, right?
Even middle class, right? Because it's average of 5K.
Our
median income is 4.9.
Exactly, right? So those people are the middle, right? Yeah. So we are talking to the people that are like middle high, the middle upper class, which is where a lot of our audience are. And these people, you can comfortably argue that they are the most viable economically. right? In that sense, because we must accept that there's an apex to skills, right? So you can comfortably argue that these people are the most employable from a skill set standpoint, right? Maybe not from a pricing standpoint because you're very expensive, so you get slashed during bad times, but actually these people do need that kind of like transitionary support, right? Because you as much as we expect everybody, which I think TFC audience is a self-select, right? You care about your finances, you will save money and all that. Truth of the matter is there are a lot of Singaporeans that function at this level that are very stretched financially by choice, right? Because they drive a big
Condo,
house,
buy a car.
stuck in a condo, and the kids must go to a certain type of school,
Don't attack me,
right? So no, so there's a certain operating cost. Right? There's a certain operating cost at that level. And I'm not saying that the state needs to fund that operating cost, right? Because there's a personal choice. But we do need to appreciate that fundamentally there is a correlation between higher earning and higher spending, right? There are more people that will do that. I always feel like the prudent higher earners are the minorities, right? The majority will be if you earn more, you will spend more. And if you want to replace these so-called high value individuals into the next job without them, being forced into taking up some of these like really scraping the barrel type of situations, right? Then their transition needs a bit more support. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the idea is that if somebody was earning, let's say 12K, 15K a month, you want them to get a new role that pays around that or slightly lower.
Maybe 9, 10.
Yeah, you don't want them to become a dishwasher.
Yeah, you don't want them to be a Grab driver.
Yeah.
Okay, dishwasher also not so easy, right? But that Grab driver is very simple. Just down the app, on board, then you move already, right? So I think that's kind of the transitionary gap that probably we will want to see a bit more of, in terms of unemployment support lah. Okay, yeah. What about?
But having said that, I think it goes back to the fundamental, right? You need a vibrant economy to absorb and to provide new jobs in the market. Otherwise, you're just fixing the symptoms.
Yeah. Of course. So there is an assumption there, right? And the assumption is getting challenged, right? But not on this podcast. So we'll do it on another podcast about the economy. Okay. So any other things in the other parties' manifesto? Oh yeah. We should talk a little bit about the insurance, right? Because the PAP chose to go down this path where it is just very much focused on a government paid out process, and then two other parties are arguing for some sort of unemployment insurance. Right?
Yep,
I think
SDP is one of them.
SDP and the Workers' Party, right? So they have a bit of difference in terms of how they want to structure this. But any thoughts on this front? Unemployment insurance.
I mean, at the end of the day, money is fungible, right? Whether you pay as part of your salary, the premium, to cover yourself, or you pay the government as part of your tax, and then the government kind of gives it back to you when not exactly that dollar that you put in, but something else back to you.
So specific to the SDP policy, they will be paid out from the individual's CPF savings to provide support while they seek re-employment.
So where does the insurance part come in? Like CPF is your money, right? It's just allowing CPF withdrawal.
That is true.
Right? That's not really insurance. It's not risk pooling, right? Where everybody
Workers'
contributes a
Party
bit.
is risk pooling.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if we take like the risk pooling type of concept is whether you give money into a common pot that you take out later when you need, that just sounds like tax. Right? That is taxation. You pay money to the government to give you money when you need.
No, IRS will knock my door. That is not taxation, okay? It's different. It's different. Yeah. Risk pooling. Tax is different. Tax is one way. Once it gets into the government.
No, but then the government redistributes it.
Yeah. So then the government redistributes, but that is a tax. When you use the word tax, it's a very specific term, right? As compared to things like CPF contribution or that. I know some people on the internet will call it tax, but it's not, right? It's technical, and I think you can comfortably.
Okay. The money you pay is the same. You pay money to somebody, and then the money comes out to you when you need it, right? Whether you call it insurance because you pool the risk, whether you call it something else that you pay the government, the concept is the same.
Yeah. No, okay, but here's how I argue it, right? Because how I argue it is about the institution. Okay, so at this point in time, it is a very basic government scheme that could change anytime, right? It's not that difficult to change it.
No, see, I think that's where maybe it's a bit different, right? Because once you implement the scheme, it's very hard to take away. We talked a bit about this yesterday. Once you start putting a scheme in and say that this is what will happen, when you take it away, people get upset.
Of course. But I think so that is political cost, right? Okay, so I don't deny that, but I think the upset part is not as bad if it was an insurance scheme.
Yeah.
If it was an insurance scheme, the upset will be very bad, right? And that is where I think we should move towards, because it's a commitment from the state to the people, right? Whereas if it's just a small little, cannot say it's small, but if it's like just like a job seeker support grant, right? Then if let's say, you know, like economy is a bit better, you can adjust it. Say, oh, we'll adjust a little bit,
No, but
like,
I mean,
like a grant support, you know.
Yeah.
So the political cost is not as high. You know
No,
what
see,
I mean?
I know
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. I think what this job seeker scheme is, subsequently, if it grows, it is really like any of your Western countries' unemployment benefits. And you have seen, especially in places like Australia, you know, US, UK, once you start taking away people's unemployment benefits, it's a huge uproar.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, I agree with you that maybe you want a stronger commitment, maybe you want a centralized body to administer this that is not up to the government of the day. Right? Because once
And it may be a situation if PAP is not around, somebody changes.
Yes, exactly.
That's
No, but
Yeah.
in a sense, if it's a centrally constituted body like the CPF that is made by law, any change in law can remove it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So it's just different hurdles, right? That kind of. But I think, and I would say this is actually a sign of the PAP moving towards WP. They cannot call it insurance,
Yeah.
because then it's the same idea, right?
Anything but insurance.
But they are providing support.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay, fair. Any thoughts?
I thought the non-job stuff were more interesting. So once we move on.
Okay. Non-job stuff. Any other things on this front?
Those are the more interesting one lah. Or insurance.
What was a bit lame?
A bit lame ah.
Yeah.
All the Bitcoin ones.
Hey, not like that.
Only that one weird guy, right?
Only that guy, yeah.
You don't say weird.
I mean, he's coming on the show.
He's coming on the
so
show, he's coming on the show.
I will talk to him later. Yes.
I had fun reading those.
Okay,
but
that's
I think there is that's it. It's like it will not get
He's lame.
enacted.
Don't bother.
No, his Bitcoin idea is not good. Some of his other ideas quite interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
But one particular thing that I think it was mentioned by Worker Party to implement and publish clear KPI for skills future and career coaching program. This one strikes me more intimately because I was in outplacement
I know.
before.
Because you were very angry the other time. Not so angry that some people text me, Adrian, okay not? It's like, yeah.
Because I've been on the other side of the fence, helping unemployed Singaporeans go back into the job. And I've seen how much wastage there is in the delivery of those services. Yeah, it's just going through the motion, trying to help people. And end of the day, the client, the client would just exit because they're frustrated, not because it's effective. So I think the effectiveness aspect is really important to measure. And I think Pritam also mentioned about this, right, when he was talking about, oh no, I need to raise GST and all that because of fiscal marksmanship or the lack of fiscal marksmanship. I think that's also interesting to look at.
Yeah. I think it's more interesting how Vivian debated him against the fiscal marksmanship. But that's a different discussion. We don't need to go there. Okay, fair. So hopefully Skills Future keep improving their programs lah. You know, I was at the one of the Reach panel, you know, with Mariam Jaffar. So she's running at Sembawang GLC, the PAP candidate Mariam Jaffar, and she said it at the Reach panel itself, said that, Skills Future got a wide variety of courses. Not all of them are of the same quality. She said it, you know. And I was like, I agree. Right? And it's true, right? Because you leave it up to the market to provide, right? And I think, you know, so it is what it is. You know, we don't need to debate whether is it correct or wrong, you know, but you leave it up to the market to provide, then, okay, there's a wide variance of programs. And I don't think the PAP is ignorant about it. It's just whether they want to make a decision to like move down a certain path. Right, so WP essentially just try to claim it first. Say, okay, we want to do something about it, right? Whereas PAP at this point in time, she's like, we're not sure. We let it see first. We know.
Even if we want to do something about it, I also cannot say.
Yeah. Maybe not now. Maybe not now. Right? So
not their priority.
Yeah. It is what it is. Yeah. Okay, fair. So those are the jobs ones. Yes. Any other things?
We should talk about family.
No. We're not talking about family today. But I give you a bit of time to talk about family. What do you want to say?
I mean, I just want to say I quite like the NSP's proposals for family. I think it's nice that they started talking a lot. At least, even if they don't get elected, at least open up the conversations about caregivers. I think that's something that honestly the government of the day has been acknowledging, but not putting in more resources to. Because we've been talking about the whole caregiver strain for a long time, right? But the truth is there has been no concrete policies that have been rolled out to support these people. We've been talking about very
small stuff.
It's too minimal to make a difference.
Or something.
Yeah, it doesn't really help. And the caregiver burden is going to just increase more and more in the coming years with the aging population. On top of that, they're also trying to encourage people to have more kids. That's not going to bode very well when you have to take care of the ones above you, and then below you also have many things. And
I think that one is very, very clear, right? It's not working.
Yeah.
Right? That's why people are not having kids.
That's why we need more conversations.
He's different now, he got 4.
That's why we're friends with him. So our average year increases.
So but truth of the matter is that is very, very clear. It's a very, very clear that TFR is not working and people are not having kids. And you cannot say people are not having kids because ideologically they don't want. It's too simple. Because ideology needs a platform to fester.
Yeah.
Right? So what is important is the platform. Right, so at this point in time, the platform which requires you to work a very intense career, which most of our audience are doing, they probably just finish their job running to the rally, maybe meanwhile go back home to the dinner first, then go to the rally, and on the way listening to the live, So we already have a very intense expectation of Singaporeans doing careers, right? And then we still want them to have a thriving family, and every image is a happy family.
Too idealistic.
With like 2 kids, maybe more, 3 if you can. Right, so that whole spiel, right, it's just not working, right? And when I ask some of my friends, like, hey, why y'all don't have kids? How to have kids? And why do we want to go back to the grind? This is a very clear thing that people say. It's like, okay, we already hustled damn hard to get to where we are in life today. To have 2 more kids is gonna change the whole measurement. Why do we really want to go back there? Right, so I think the whole structure at this point in time doesn't work, right? So that requires a much deeper discussion, not a baby bonus problem.
Not baby bonus.
I was watching a video yesterday, someone was interviewing Kumar, and they talked about Lawrence Wong, and Kumar mentioned, Lawrence Wong had no children, just got time to play guitar. So, things like that, it is
Lawrence,
true.
We welcome you to have 2 kids.
Kumar say one. Kumar can say anything.
No, we say Kumar approve. Kumar is approved. Yeah. But that's a different discussion. I know you're not coming every day, so I let you air your thoughts.
But the caregiver pain is legit. I was just speaking with a friend today. She has to quit her job to take care of the father full time. And the sister need to take care of the mother who's having dementia.
Exactly.
So I was telling her she's lucky she has siblings. Imagine if it's only one of her.
Yes, exactly. So when we look at the grander scheme of jobs also, right? You see some people basically have no choice. But it's true, right? Because some people are being laid off, but others have no choice but to quit because their family needs them more.
Yeah.
And then these people will not qualify for a lot of your unemployment benefits because they own self.
It's not involuntarily unemployment.
Yeah, exactly. And that is a gap that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, okay.
I quite like, although I don't know how feasible this is because we haven't really gone deep into it, but like one of the NSP's proposals was to implement 5 days of paid caregiver support leave for working adults. I thought that was quite interesting, even though we can.
You still got to be working to get a 5-day leave.
That is true.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not working every day, it's a leave, right?
But then where the money come from?
Yeah. So that is fine. Okay. Maybe we bring it back to the last big thing on the jobs and wages discussion, which is minimum.
Minimum wage.
Minimum wage, right? So
being debated for so long already. Until now, so many years still don't have. I don't think see it in this GE lah.
No. You won't see it. You might see something in a slightly different form.
Where it's more like taking the opportunity to talk about the different plans, right? So I think yesterday we alluded a little bit to this, and the WP was doing a 1,600. PSP was doing a 2,250 or something like that. That's the different minimum wage that they're looking at, right? So maybe before we go into the specific numbers, what are your thoughts on minimum wage? Because I know the conversation has been kind of like moving along, and I can see the conversation evolve over time. So what, at this point in time, how are you looking at minimum wage? Although I know a lot of our audience are not making minimum wage, but the idea is minimum wage does affect you, right? In an indirect market intervention method, right? So any thoughts on minimum wage?
To me, minimum wage is really a form of worker protection, right? And it's the most tangible form where even if there's a great imbalance between employer and employee power, you cannot abuse them by underpaying them too much. And it's the gist of all our laws, right? It's like why your Employment Act has a minimum annual leave, right? So everybody gets at least that. So I think that's a signal, right? And maybe we can live without it if we have strong worker protections. Do we?
It's arguable.
Let's not say anything.
Yeah. We got tripartite.
Symbiotic relationship.
we have win-win
Okay,
relationships.
relax. I'm
Yeah.
getting cancer. I'm borderline. I'm going to receive emails.
Yeah, we have win-win relationships,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, and that's the thing. So if you have strong worker protections, and I think a lot of the jobs kind of manifestos point towards that, right? It's like whether it's this, whether it's a right to disconnect, whether it's reducing your maximum, your typical work week to like 40 days. It's all about worker protection and all about employee protection to say, yes, there are certain things we need to have for our employees, for our labor force. Right, and maybe that's to give them a bit more time to procreate, whatever. But I think that is the big picture, and minimum wage just forms a part of that. Whether we need one and what the level should be, honestly, I don't know. I think we do need more labor protection. I don't know if we do need a specific minimum wage set at a level, because in a sense, a lot of it's quite fungible, right? My favorite word today. If you have the easiest way to get around minimum wage is to make it a contractor. And then you're no longer an employee, you fall outside the Employment Act, and then you have a different set of protections.
It's true.
Right? So there's many ways.
A lot of
like the more laws there are, the more ways there are to get around it. Why don't we focus on the key issue? How do we address this imbalance? How do we make sure that everybody has, no matter what job, whether you're a contractor, whether you're a gig economy worker, whether you're an employee, has a certain minimum level of protection, has a certain minimum pay, maybe that goes to minimum wage, to let them live a life, right? And to let them survive.
Yeah, fair. Any thoughts?
But there doesn't seem to be any other better solution, right? It's like,
I mean, the PAP will tell you, oh yeah, we got all these progression schemes for the really, really lowly paid ones, like security guards, like cleaners.
Which has actually successfully
which are quite
wages.
successful.
Yes.
It has successfully moved our wages, and it acts like a quasi minimum wage. So again, we can call one thing many different names, right? We can expand that, and then if you expand that scheme to all sectors in Singapore or all lowly paid sectors in Singapore, then hey, guess what? You have minimum wage, right? It's a word game rather than anything else.
So I think at this point in time, back on the part about workers' protection, right? It is a opportune time in Singapore's transition to start to look at these things, right? A big part, I think, it's because our economic mix have changed quite a bit, from the past where, in order to really join the high value game, you have to be in manufacturing lah. That was the high value game. But since then until now, there's the software, there's the finance, there's all these other so-called higher value things that actually don't need a lot of space, objectively. And our main struggle is space and local demand, right? So that is the part that I think with the whole shift in the world where you start to see like, okay, you can make money with the finance, you can make money with tech, you can make money with R&D, you can make money with education, which are all industries that Singapore can do very well with, without a lot of space, and can export, right? From a service, maybe some product, high value manufacturing, which is highly automated. There are not many people on the lines, right? So those are the industries that we want to move the nation towards, right? And I think whichever party all wants to move down the path. It's just how much they spend their energy to ride on now. Of course, PAP has talked about it multiple times, but I do think the policies don't line up in terms of providing more, like low-skilled labor coming in, and all that. Because I think recently the low-skilled labor population in Singapore has crossed 1.8 million. It's very close to 2 already. Right, so that is why all your weekends, you see the Ang Mo Kio MRT around, the Paya Lebar MRT around the whole area, all the foreign workers are there, right? So because they are humans, they need to live, right? So they cannot be stuck in the dorm every day, right? They need to go out and hang out with their friends. So if we have more and more of the low-skilled labor in Singapore, then we're going to incentivize bosses to just continue to use them lah, because it's easy, you don't need to use capex investment to move up the value chain, and society in some ways have to absorb that cost. And it comes in these type of situations where your CBD area is being taken up, right? And then more and more Singaporeans are saying, wow, weekend a lot of people, I don't want to go out. So then it becomes a snowball, right? Because it affects your quality of life, because too dense, too many people on the island, and it makes the wages, suppresses wages. So I think we are at a good time in our transition to move up this thing and really rethink labor protection at that level.
I guess that's why they implemented harsher quotas. Yeah, to try and manage that situation. I think there's no easy answer as to whether the quotas or the minimum wage would help. But
everything will help, right? We just need more help.
Exactly. But I think Anthony's point is exactly that. It's what message do you send across when you have a minimum wage protection in place? Yeah, I think it's honestly more the message than the impact.
Okay,
yeah, because
fair.
realistically, I don't think the impact is that huge. It will help a certain sector of society, but I think over time, wages and cost of living has gone up so much that honestly, even the proposed minimum wage will not help that much. Yeah, it's so minimum that the slide might as well don't say. But it's really more of that message that there is this protection in place, and that as an employer you cannot underpay. You want to underpay, you go look to the other sources of labor, but then that's where you have to deal with the quota.
No, and I do think that there's a fundamental difference between jobs moving out of Singapore and people moving into Singapore to work those jobs that Singaporeans don't want to do. Right, because you don't need to socialize the cost, or like they will not take up your weekend spaces and all this. I'm not nativist or whatever, right? It's just a pure function of how things work.
They will not strain your infrastructure.
Right? And early morning, the MRT is filled with all the foreign workers that need to go to work, right? So because they want to avoid everybody, then they have to start even earlier. So also very shack on them. Can you imagine a whole bunch of people, million people in Singapore working like very jialat life that you will not want, right? Your son or yourself to do. They are doing it. How can they not feel stressed and tired? And how would that not then affect broader society? Right? So, I mean, let us not forget that Singapore cannot sell alcohol after 10:30, after the Little India riots.
Until now.
Yeah, until now. Let us not forget. And the Little India riots was because of the foreign worker population that came into Singapore. Right? And of course, there are specific incidents. We don't need to go there. But all these are tied together. And I think Singapore is at an opportune time now to relook at this thing, right? So what is our labor policy? Who are the people that we want to bring in? We do need to bring in people, but we have to probably change our mix and change our structure and tell some of the SMEs, I don't think the SMEs are bigger for. Tell some of the bigger businesses, right? You got to figure a way out. Right?
No, but I mean, that's our fundamental issue, right? We run out of nurses. Like, we want to build more hospitals. We run out of nurses, we run out of doctors. What do? We go to our neighboring countries and find them. Right? The default solution for a lot of our problems is we just import manpower because we have high economic value. Right? And
it's easy. That's
it's
the easy part,
right? It's easy, and maybe it's a short-term fix. And hopefully, whoever's in power,
it's a short-term fix.
This is just a bandage, and we are moving towards more structural solutions, right?
Bandage a very long time already.
This bandage 20 years away.
This bandage is just expanding to different wounds. And we need to find a way to remove these bandages and move to something that is long-term sustainable.
It's true.
Right? We cannot, there will always be people, so maybe you can say labor is long-term sustainable, but there's a cost to it, as you've said.
There are always newer technology to play all sorts of stuff. So yes. Any last things? We don't want to end on such a sad note. It's like labor, life, wage,
No lah, life is tough. That's the reality. That's kind of the theme.
Group here.
No, that's kind of the theme, right? And we have said this yesterday as well. Life now is actually quite difficult.
It's true.
And I'm sorry that we don't have a more upbeat message. And I think that's where the political parties are coming in, right? That maybe there's a different path, maybe there are alternative ideas. And if the incumbent, and even if they don't get elected in, we hope that there's more conversation, right? There are different ideas coming up, and let this be a proper contest of ideas. Don't let it be I wayang here, wayang there, I give you more voucher to win votes. Right? You are good, you have the data, prove it.
Show us.
I think I hope, right?
Fighting
this
words.
is technically the
Show us.
first time that we've had the in-person rallies in 10 years? 10 years,
Have you been to a rally?
No lah, back then we so
exactly
young.
right. Yeah, they all been to it already. We must go.
It
We
shows
go
that
together.
we're
We go
younger
together.
here.
We go together.
Okay, but anyway, no, but I got
Oh, you're 18
follow.
years old, is it?
I
21,
was
21.
schooling. I was schooling.
So-
and had other priorities
Okay.
like keeping my grades up so my
Going to
scholarship don't,
class.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the point is I remember in the last few rallies there were always instances of mudslinging and character assassinations.
Yeah.
I genuinely hope this year we won't have that. I hope all the parties move on because it's the best. It's really amazing when it's all a debate of those ideas
Yeah.
and the policies, and that's for the greater good. But
very
then,
hard.
wow, I remember last time when I was a student, I'm like, all these adults,
Yeah,
why must talk to each other? Why must say each other things like
No,
that?
then where will you get the memes?
Yeah.
Yeah lah, but that is not the point. We want
It's
we
entertainment.
want progress. Yeah, it's
This
entertainment
is bread and
versus progress.
circuses.
But to be fair, I think sending some of the candidates that you support into parliament is for that long debate to happen
Yeah.
Yeah.
over the course of the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Right. Or at least 5 years lah. Sometimes it's 4
Yeah.
years, depending on the party, what they want. Right. So I think that is the whole idea because it is truly very hard to hold people to account for
Yeah.
not mudslinging and just debate policy. Even things like populist or elite,
Mm.
all are name calling and essentially moving away from a proper discussion. So I do not want us to use words like populist or like elites because all these are just 2 steps away from saying you're stupid. You don't know what the hell is going on, right? And from my point of view, you are really running away from the actual discussion on ideas. And you have if whoever has the best idea may then win.
Yep.
Right, so I think that's what we want to do, and we welcome all parties to come
We are
on to
idealists.
discuss.
Yes.
Yes. We still have many days, so if you want, email us hello@thefinancialcoconut.com. Okay, so yeah, we will take a break for now, and we'll come back with an even tougher discussion.
That I'm going to be away from.
Yeah. So we have two other friends coming on the show, Ning from the Courage chapter and Yuit from ASME. So we will talk about elder workers, which I think a lot of our audience are at, and the realities of SMEs, right? Because as much as we want wages to keep going up, a lot of companies are also saying all sorts of stuff. So most of the time we are quite one-sided in saying we want the wage to go up. This time
Support the employers.
I got the other side to come and share their view, what is happening on the ground and how the smaller employers are trying to make it work. Because I'm sure the big MNCs have a much bigger talent plan to manage their overall business. It's the thriving SME business ecosystem that we still want to have so that it becomes a springboard to be bigger companies that can lift all of us, right? But I think they are struggling. So I would love to hear their point of view. So we will come back later after a short break for all of you. Okay, today we overrun, so give us a bit of time. We will rest a bit. 5-10 minutes, we'll come back. Okay, take care.
Make up a bit. Okay.
Yeah,
take care.
bye-bye. Okay, we are back for part 2 of our daily life. If you have not listened to part 1, you can always listen later. We will always come back to you on that. But today's general topic is about jobs, wages, life, and in general, I think that really covers the Singapore way of life. But on TFC, we have often talked about the professional struggle. Always about money, trying to make more money and all that. And we often conveniently leave out the other side of the discussion, which is the businesses, right? How are businesses then managing the situation, trying to get things going and all that, right? So my name is Reggie. If it's your first time, welcome. And if you are listening to us on Instagram, actually the optimal experience is on YouTube. Okay, the optimal experience is on YouTube. You should go and look on YouTube. If you're on our YouTube, welcome. Put in the comment section. Let us know any interesting things you want us to cover, because there will always be more interesting things to cover lah. We have a lot of time.
But Instagram got special bloopers lah.
Yeah. Instagram get to see a little bit more of the front and the back, because that is as far as we can go for live stream capability side. We gotta upgrade over time, right? Yeah. So Adrian, for our audience that are just coming in,
Yes, I'm Adrian, LinkedIn top noise, author of No More Bosses, fractional CMO, and also a podcaster.
Okay. And we are joined with Ning, from the Courage chapter. And Yuit is running a bit late. Just live stream very hard to run, right? There's a lot of people that are running late because they are busy. They take time to come on. So we give him a bit more time. But meanwhile, Ning, maybe you can introduce yourself to our audience, who you are, what you do, and all the good stuff.
Sure, yeah. My name is Ning. I'm from the Courage chapter. I'm one half of the Courage chapter. So I co-founded this organization 1.5 years ago in November 2023. And I think the objective really for us is how can we help senior professionals to transition to their second chapters through meaningful projects, hopefully fractional as well, into various sectors, and also, kind of enjoying their wonderful second chapters. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think a lot of it is also, working with companies to think about how can we fractionalize roles with them, and also, just generally giving more opportunity for senior workers.
So how has things been so far? Because senior workers is quite a situation, right, for a lot of Singapore's current situation. It's a fair statement, right? A lot of senior workers are getting let go. Right?
Yeah.
So what's the situation?
What's the definition of
So interesting, right? Because we're not the government, so we don't need to define so specifically, but it's good. And I think when we first started, we wanted to be an inclusive employment kind of arm, right? And because of that, we are also hesitant to do a too early cutoff. We won't tell you that you're too young, but generally what we see is 80% of our population are in their 50s and 60s.
Okay.
We do have some people in their 70s, and then also in a bit of in the mid 40s.
Okay. So 50 to 60 is the bulk of your community, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. And what are their struggles then?
And it's very interesting, right? Because in these 20 years, actually, you go through a lot of micro life stages, honestly. When you're in your 40s, most likely they may have been involuntarily let go. But in their maybe late 50s and in their 60s, it could have been voluntary. But then after that, they kind of think, hey, actually, I still want to work. So there are some people who, there's a mix of people. They all have different life expectations, and they all struggle with different things. So maybe we can unpack later.
Yes. We can unpack now because
okay.
Yuit is late.
All right. Yeah.
So we unpack now. Yeah, please tell us a bit more.
Yeah, so I think maybe I can talk a little bit about our struggles for 1.5 years doing this, right? After a long time of kind of distilling the problem. It's a very big gnarly problem, right? We came up with a simple matrix. So we have a 4-quadrant matrix where we think that these are the 4 levers to solve. If we can solve these things, right, I think we can open up the job market for a lot of senior professionals. So we call it like the willingness and ability. And then down here is the corporates and senior professionals. So the willingness of corporates, right, to hire senior professionals, I think that one is their mindset, perception, the ageism piece. There is also the ability for them to hire. Even if you're willing doesn't mean you're able. So for example, they don't know how to hire them. They don't know what kind of roles that these seniors can do. They don't know how to pay them, etc. And the mode of employment is different as well. Then there's also the senior side, which is they say that they are willing to work, but are they really willing to do the kind of work, right? Are they willing to take a smaller salary for different things? Are they willing to work in a stranger like 3 days a week. They say that they do, but maybe they are not ready for it as well. Then the final piece is the ability to work. So is that the right person for the right job? So long story short is there are 4 main quadrants. We think that there are problem statements here, and we feel that if we can solve them, right, I think we can really crack the senior employment piece in Singapore.
So what's the current struggle then at this point in time?
Yeah.
Because to be fair, tying it into GE, right,
Yeah.
it looks like in all the manifesto, there's not much discussion,
Yeah.
around senior workers, But I've already been telling a lot of my SME friends that senior workers are treasure trove.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of
Really.
interesting people there that they, when they are in their prime, you will never be able to hire them
Yeah.
because they are A-league, professionals. You cannot afford them. The MNC scoop them up, or the public service scoop them up. Then at this point in time, then they start to experience this situation where, okay, maybe now you can afford them. Right. So that's the part that, I think more businesses should start to think about.
It's quite interesting. I feel like I think some of the senior professionals, they are very well networked, right? They are able to find employment pretty easily, or like fractional roles. But I think what happens to a lot of them who have quietly built up their skills over the years, but they have not really have the industry exposure or network. These are the people who kind of fall through the cracks, right? And then only when, let's say, they have no employment, they want to find employment. Then they start to build a network, then it's a bit too late. So our question is, how can we be an aggregator for them to aggregate all these roles and give the best man for the job?
And you're really spot on when you mentioned about the not a lot being mentioned in the manifesto. Just scrolling through, only 2 parties mentioned about something that is related to senior workers, and that is to abolish the statutory retirement age.
But that's nothing.
Yeah, that's nothing, right? Yeah, it doesn't really affect how the company would still handle. I mean, how is it going to affect retrenchment? How is it going to affect anything else? It doesn't really.
Yeah, I think that one is probably more, that is actually more if you were to abolish the retirement age, I guess, it might affect businesses a bit more. Maybe we can ask.
Yeah, maybe we can ask our special guest that just came into the studio.
Hi.
You adjust your mic a bit.
Yes.
Since we are already on it.
Better? Okay.
A bit higher. Yeah, because you're quite tall.
Okay, like that better.
A bit low. Yeah. Okay, this is good.
Excellent.
This is good. Yeah. So maybe before we go into the conversation, just feel our audience, like, who are you? What do you do? If they don't know you, just a quick role.
Okay, hi. My name is Yuit. I am the president of the Association of Small and Medium Enterprises. I run a small software development company, and of course, a lot of times my position is to look at speaking up for the small and medium enterprises and businesses in general.
So what is a small and medium enterprise?
Well, by enterprise, Singapore definition or government.
There's a definition.
There is a definition. It is any company that has less than 200 people, and or less than 100 million in turnover, Singapore dollars, in annual turnover.
So the 3-person billion-dollar company is not
still an SME.
Still SME,
because you are less than 200.
Okay.
So you have got 4 billion above both criteria.
Okay.
So it's very, very broad.
Okay.
So that's why you have 99% of the enterprises are all SMEs. Because how often do you bust both criteria? Right?
Okay.
So very rare.
Okay, fair. So you will represent most of them in that sense.
Yes,
whereas
but
SBF will represent the big boys.
Yes, but broadly we think that the group that really needs representation is really the small and micro, which are generally people with less than 10 million in turnover. Right? We think that from our own experience, more than 10 million in turnover, you will have your resources, you can access. You don't really have so much of a challenge in representation or resources.
Okay.
And based on today's landscape, what are those challenges that they commonly face with?
I think right now we are dealing with a broad challenge of reconfiguration of the global economy. And we can see that happening. And you've been seeing that happening since post-COVID as very simply, people rely less on US over the period because of the trade war. Actually, trade war already started during Trump 1.0. So that reconfiguration already started. And one of the big factors is a lot of Chinese companies no longer think of themselves as a manufacturing hub. Now they've got to come out and seize market share. And when that happens, they look at where to land.
And Singapore naturally is a very strong contender for the landing point. So when companies land here, they open 1 or 2 small shops, they become instantly a very strong competitor. And within China, they are highly evolved and they are way ahead in terms of advanced usage of technology integration. And they've got a very strong low-cost manufacturing base.
It's true.
Whichever they are, right?
It's
So when they land, they've got a methodology where they bring the whole supply chain along. And they themselves can see it, we can see it. And with that, they are highly competitive and they are in investment mode, right? So if you're in investment mode, you will bid for a higher headcount, salary and everything versus a company that's on run rate and we're trying to just make sure we earn profit every month. So in investment mode, they are a lot more aggressive. They are here to seize market share. So they start to push away or outcompete local SMEs. And then because of the integrated supply chain, they also don't have as much flow-on effects to the ecosystem. So the SMEs that get outcompeted, the supporting ecosystem also get impacted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they built on a more local or regional kind of ecosystem.
Yes.
As compared to when the Chinese companies come in and then they...
Correct.
Okay.
They will bring their own ecosystem
Yeah,
in.
yeah, I know.
So then
the whole line is a different line.
Yes.
Okay. That is interesting. That is interesting.
That's the challenge.
We should have another podcast on this. Yeah. You want to say something?
Which I guess is why there's this conversation about a lot of SME are not in the best situation to grow and to grow well and grow fast because you have so many different competition that comes in, and when they come in, it's like, wow, you look at all this China hotpot shop they're just sprouting out like crazy.
Yeah.
And they're very aggressive. They're very strong in marketing. And one of the things I noticed about Chinese companies, if you actually follow Douyin, which is a parallel sister of TikTok, right? There are a lot of business strategy clips, right? And they're always talking about strategy. Chinese are very strong in strategy and art of war. Who invented, right? Sun Tzu, right? It's Chinese. So when it comes to business, they are very evolved in thinking about how to enter market, how to seize market, and what's the strategy to do that. So with that, they have very strong marketing ability. They are strong in technology, all integrated. So when they come here, they find the local competitors generally much less evolved than they are. So easily they can seize market with strong capital on top of that.
Yeah. What about the local competition? Because in today's election landscape, there are talks about all this local competition drowning out the SME. So for one of the parties' proposal, SDP specifically, they mentioned about eliminating GLC to support SME and to increase SME. In fact, another one, lucky interesting, eliminate Temasek Holdings. This one power, so specific. How to get voters from Temasek. But that's another thing. But what's your thought about that? Are GLC actually crowding out the opportunity for SME?
I think that in some ways it is, in certain ways. I think if you look back on the history, and that's just my own narrative of the history. The earlier days, GLC was actually created as a counterbalance to very strong local business people. So in the early days of the government's formation, you had very strong local businesses that were tycoons, right? And Singapore as a government had to look at how they can balance the economy and manage the economy vis-a-vis these very strong tycoons who were in banking, who were in land, property, and so on. So I think the GLCs started as a counterbalance to ensure that the government had power and a say in the economy. And if you look at today, 60 years forward, right? Singapore versus the other ASEAN region, we are the only country that doesn't really have tycoons controlling our economy. Right? What you've got is a very strong GLC in that position. So I think today, GLC's role actually, in my view, can evolve, which is that instead of looking at themselves as a competitor to local businesses, because we have all evolved beyond that, GLCs can evolve themselves to look at how they can empower and be a big brother to our local businesses. But that is not what many we see as a DNA of the GLCs. So maybe it's a DNA rather than closing it down, but as a DNA shift, right? GLCs can see themselves, hey, we have grown so much bigger, we can be now
Stop squeezing us.
yeah, and partner lah, partner together,
yeah.
right? They are so much better resource, partner with us
Yeah.
and help businesses grow abroad and come together. I think that is a cultural shift that I think would help greatly.
No, it's true. So I actually don't agree with the tycoon situation, right? Because with a lot of big tycoons in the region, right, they actually hold the country by the neck. Okay, because they are the biggest hirer, they fund the biggest parties. You know, this money in politics really starts with a lot of tycoons. Okay, so but if you want to sponsor us, also okay lah. You know, but truth of the matter is a lot of tycoons, they do affect politics in many ways, and possibly not in the most positive way, right? So when it comes to GLCs, I have no big qualms about having big state-owned, organizations, that are run in a good way lah, in that sense, right? And of course also for the benefit of broader society. But when it comes to the plight of the SMEs, right, the situation here is most of the big GLCs, unlike other corporates, have KPIs that revolve around cost savings. So it always gets squeezed to the smaller companies because you don't have bargaining power, right? So there are limited budget, you don't have bargaining power. So it's very hard to then foster this system of like, okay, we'll bring more our small SME brothers and sisters, they always like to use this word, right? Brothers and sisters, along. Very hard because the KPIs internally are not set that way. So maybe what is unique to GLCs, right, as a company that is heavily invested by the state, or even you can even argue very supported or even formed because of state powers, could adjust its mandate, for something like that. Because I think in some of the more matured enterprises out there, they do start to ask questions where like, are you sure you can survive with this budget? Because there's always a subcon type of situation, right, for a lot of SMEs. So like for the older school type of like businesses, they will try to squeeze you, and then for some reason there's a certain wave around like companies asking you sure this budget you can survive not, right? When you tender the bid, right, you're the cheapest, but you sure you can not, right? Like what corners are you gonna cut, right? Because objectively, the numbers speak for itself. You're gonna cut somewhere, right? So I think that type of conversation could potentially happen where it's GLC led. I do not think.
Quite interestingly, I was just having a chat with a F&B manager, and he was talking about interacting with various counterparties in the rental and leasing space, right? Because they got to rent spaces, and he did mention that he finds that interacting with GLCs, which are professionally run, the malls that are professionally run by GLCs, or he finds that it's easier and they're more professional in terms of running. So what I think is that if the KPIs are well set, interestingly, a strong business like a GLC can actually turn itself to drive good social outcomes. Because helping SMEs in some ways is a bit like a social outcome.
It's a bit like the Japanese way, right? You always see, the word on the street is the Japanese here don't interact with other people. They only interact with themselves, right? So, all of them live in their own ecosystem, and the big banks only need to serve the own, big companies from the Japanese and the whole thing, the whole spiel.
The Taiwanese also doesn't make
so
sense.
they have their whole
closed, it's a very closed ecosystem.
Yeah, very close ecosystem. So maybe it's time. It's time we start to look at that. Yeah, but that's a different podcast.
Yes,
it's a whole other thing that we probably can do if you have more time, later to talk about the plight of the SMEs. So today I wanted to do this episode primarily because of the tension between jobs and SMEs, right? Because the truth of the matter is, I think for most professionals, everybody want to make more money, right? SMEs also want to make more money, but different, right? So after doing content for both groups, right, over time, I start to see the tension, very clearly, and I think that is where the discussion needs to move towards, beyond just looking at jobs and wages in a closed loop, and then looking at SMEs in another loop, because often it feels like that. right? So I wanted to set the stage to like have that discussion, to go around like, okay, what's going on, like there are all these like talent pools that a lot of the senior workers are priced out of the market, right? So it's not because they are not good, but because a lot of the companies cannot tahan, the kind of wages that they are seeking, right? And a lot of companies are also not like venturing wide into growing markets such that they can then bring along more people. So there's that tension, right? Or at least that's how I read the situation. Any thoughts on based on what
I think
said?
that having been in this space of advocating or talking about business challenges and in the business world, right? I think that people always see that there's a tension between worker and business owner, or between business and workers. But actually, I think that we are all fighting for the same thing. We are fighting for a bigger economic pie. And if we can all look at it from a perspective that we are all actually trying to make all of our lives better, and we're all Singaporeans, well, as long at least most of us are, right? The challenge we have is about how can we all become more competitive fundamentally. And I'm speaking from the perspective of SMEs and locally owned SMEs. And if we can all be competitive locally, then the alignment becomes clear. You as a staff worker in an organization, how do you contribute together so the company can be profitable? And then as that happens, then your salary gets improved. That's actually very direct. The challenge, I think, for many is that maybe for larger enterprises or for MNCs, that is a bit decoupled. They can't really see where it is. And then they start to see, I'm just a cog in the wheel, right? But actually, for very often in SMEs, you can actually see the outcome. If you work harder or you can contribute, the company makes, then you can benefit. But one of the challenges, I think, also is that SME owners, the way they manage, right? They don't have the finesse lah. They sometimes are more direct lah, right? And they are a bit more emotional. But think about
Family
it,
business.
if you're family, you also gonna scolded by your parents all the time, right? So that's naturally part of the challenge, because as an SME owner, they often don't have so many layers. So they also sometimes speak their mind directly. They don't package their communication as well. But same for your parents lah, right? So it's a bit like that. And I think SME owners in general can do better in packaging and communicating, so that is clearer, so that the motivation can be better and stronger and empowering your workers. At the same time, though, as a staff in a company, if I can think about how I can own the company and fight for the same ideals, right? Then it's all aligned, you see.
That's the ideal situation.
Yeah, it sounds a bit
I think it's
I'm
tough lah.
idealistic,
I think it's really
maybe.
tough because everyone have different. End of the day, they would know that I'm not a shareholder. What I only do so much, lor.
And I think even if they're willing, how would they be able to do it as well, right? Yeah. So that's
I think that there's also the organizational structure, shareholding structure. I think that in certain organizations, honestly, you can't, because the boss may not be interested in that. Literally, right? And we think that there are organizations like that. I'm not here to say everything is all perfect. I think that as a staff, if you actively look at how I can be contributing, and I have direct conversations with my boss or my manager, and we can create that, right, as an environment, I think you will start to find that there are companies that will be proactive in that. What do you think, Kai Ting?
Well, actually, I think that's like so interesting, because recently I hear, like, on the ground that like some of the senior professionals, sometimes they left their employment, but then actually they're quite rich one, so they actually buy over like
temps, and sometimes your boss will not be the type to listen. Then maybe you find someone that you think can be open. Then we can create that environment and culture lah. I think it's society is also about molding a culture towards a direction that we think will work, right? And I think that in a country like Singapore, we're so small. If we can all move in a certain culture, a certain direction, we will make our country a better place.
Can I ask, like, where do you see the key talent shortages in like the most of the SMEs?
I think that when are you talking about specific skill or
Yeah,
mindset or
maybe certain gaps
Yeah.
that SMEs face.
I think a large part of the challenge is the pace of work that's moving so fast, right? The pacing of our technology is moving very fast. So definitely one area is how quick are you to adapt to the newer technology and integrate that into your business process. Very often in SME, it's the boss that's doing all the innovation work. He's playing with it, he's figuring out how to do it. I think that as staff, if they are motivated, they can keep up with the technology and think about how to integrate it into work. That's a very important part. I think sometimes we look at jobs to say, well, I'm given a task, then I just fulfill it. I never think about how that task actually integrates into enterprise value, right? So I've been talking to different segments of the ecosystem to say, look, we should be
You
thinking
can name
about
the ecosystem. Right? It's okay.
Yeah,
We all know lah. People know lah.
I give you the space. You can talk. Yeah.
we should be thinking about enterprise value, right? We all think about how to measure enterprise value rather than, if we look at a society and we divide it and say, look, your interest and his interest and what is your interest, then there's no alignment because you are trying to almost carving out different interests into separate pots. And then maybe these interests end up being in conflict. But actually, we can link it together. We're all talking about building enterprise value. It's just who gets more of the upside, shareholders or employees.
So with
right?
all these challenges mentioned, and I just noticed something. Oh, you are SME owners. Yeah. So and now that it's election season, what are some of the mentioned in various manifestos that really touch on your spider sense? They really give you tingling sensation when you read through on all the
So my thoughts are, firstly, the important thing is PSP never write anything about this. So the Progress Singapore Party has nothing about SMEs, okay? Or at least that's how I read it, okay?
You are correct.
yeah.
I just confirmed.
That's how I read it. There's nothing. So we welcome Ching Bok and whoever to come on to talk about it, okay? If you would like to talk about, okay, maybe it's a smaller party. Maybe we are outside.
They will dispute
our
their size,
expectations, It's okay, but it is what it is, Whereas for the PAP, of course, it's the same, things continue. SDP does have a very different view, between shareholders and stakeholders, right? So they're trying to, it's a very social democratic type of view, where it's not just about making sure the shareholder makes money and trying to look at the overall society being beneficial, right? So and actually I quite agree with this, right? But it calls for a much bigger systemic change. It's not just a government give grant, or like another thing. No, it's not about that. It's actually more of what you just said, right? Essentially, this whole thinking about that you as a professional is competing with your company for maximum benefit, right? It's a very MNC corporate view because you are one of the many. You're just in the corp, right? But for a lot of SMEs, I think the Chinese have this saying called 头家, right? 头家, right? 头家 is the biggest of the family, right? So that is the energy that I think needs to potentially come back, into the local SME scene where Singaporeans start to see like, okay, we are on the same boat. Right, and this part nobody talks about because it's a bit softer. It's very hard to legislate or give grant, right? Imagine I give grant for team building, Tauke team building grant. I don't know, right? A bit hard. Although there's some discussion with the WP about leadership training for the SME bosses, to help management, which I agree, but I am a little bit cautioned if the training is too Western slant because a lot of the Western training is corporatization, right? So the way they teach companies to run is running like a efficient corporate mechanism, right? So it is what it is, and you already see the success of it, in some of the big MNCs, right? I do think for the SMEs, they probably need a slightly different view of this thing. And I mean, just for a lot of our listeners tuning in, right? I also run it like an SME, right? We're a small company, we have 10 people doing different parts. I think people need to realize that my salary count is not too far from yours. Like maybe I take 2 times smaller, right? That's it, right? So, and I'm not like a 150 times CEO that's like stuck at the 50th building at the corner that you never see. Once a year, you come out and shake hands, say thank you everyone, and then the bonus team will kind of tell you, sorry, not very good, bonus not very high this year. But they report record numbers, right? So we're not running that type of outfit. And that type of mental shift is quite important for, especially for corporate professionals that are entering this space, right? I think that stakeholder also empowers you to then, have vested interest to grow the team together, because when the team grows, then you grow along, you get very direct impact one, and as the team grows, right, I can guarantee you half the time I'm thinking how to retain my best people, right? Because I know that they are the best people, right? They are very viable out there in the open market. So if tomorrow they throw me a letter, I will puke blood. Right? So I'm always thinking of how to retain the best people, and I want people to start to think like, okay, maybe if I do a bit more, the platform grows further, I get the upside also alongside with, management, and not see management as just this far-fetched idea. They make a decision and does not affect you lah. Right? So that is a more mindset shift. I don't see a lot of policy for SMEs honestly for this round of discussion. It's a bit sad, but
It is.
the situation is as such. There is a lot of labor policies to try to protect labor, or at least in the discussion, right? Minimum wage, longer leave. Yeah. But longer leave, I also get it. Like, okay, put it this way, I don't know how the other SMEs run it, but because the team is very small, so I give everybody a 2-week off, at the end of the year, because I also want a 2-week off. I don't want to manage you, right? You go and relax. I also want to relax, right? So, like these type of things. And then when my guys come and they say, January, I also want to off. I was like, really? I thought we just off, right? So there are some of these type of things that do not really work in an MNC structure, because they account for man hours to the dot, which is probably a lot more flexible in like what people will call family businesses, which is rarely formed by one family. It's a lot of families coming together to form this thing, right? So I think that's the part of the discussion that's lacking.
Actually, that's quite interesting. Then how do we systemize mindset shift?
You see, MNC thought, right? But I love it. There is a basis for some of these things, right?
That will go back to the Workers' Party.
Workers' Party
to build leadership in SMEs.
I think that frankly, the economy, right? Our economy has grown a lot. If you think about the last 60 years, SG60 now, the economy has grown massively. If you look at the broader basis, capitalism as a thought and as a economic model, is more recent, right? I mean, look at the history of humanity, 3,000
Are we going there?
years, right?
Okay.
So whether or not capitalism is the ideal and the best is something that is still work in progress in my view, right? And we all know that it's got its ultra strength is its ability to allocate resources well.
Oh, that's what it proclaims.
Yeah,
it's a profit mechanism that seeks to tap into the internal greed of an individual. I think that's a better explanation than efficiency, because there's a lot of state-run mechanisms that become very efficient over a long period of time. Like, you cannot argue that CPF is not efficient. CPF is quite efficient,
yes,
right? The way they run it, very light, very lean, and
so the design of capitalism is allocation in terms of investment. Now, social outcome is one of its weaknesses, because you get
just profit,
outcome,
profit,
right? Yeah, exactly. So the reality, I think, is about how do you tap on the ability for it to efficiently allocate resource, and yet you mitigate the social outcome, right? And that's something, if you look increasingly, China is trying to manage, right? They're trying to ensure that you still efficiently allocate resource, whether it's semicon, whether it's EUVs, whether it's new energy vehicles, efficient allocation and talent. At the same time, it's trying to manage the downside of the tycoons being ultra rich and creating social outcome challenges lah. So they were going after the tycoons, and that's something that's work in progress. In my view, I tend to lean a bit towards the socialist side when it comes to this. That I think that outcomes need to be managed, because it cannot be a free capitalist society. You're going to create very bad social outcomes. But at the same time, if you don't have a strong support for individual entrepreneurism, to a certain extent, you may have a challenge where the economy cannot hold itself up, right? Now, SMEs employ 60 to 70% of our workforce. That's a very strong base. where it takes care of itself, right? SMEs typically don't just hire and fire. We treat a lot of employees as our brothers and sisters, right? So
So cheesy.
so
but
when
okay,
economy goes bad,
yeah.
very
Niece and
often
nephew.
you maybe you literally hire niece and you treat them like
that's
niece.
not so good. That's a different discussion.
But if economy goes bad, often you may even not take your own salary and you continue paying your staff. And that's the other side that many people don't see.
Yeah.
And that is very valuable in keeping and ensuring that economy is robust.
Yeah.
So if you think about that facet, how do you ensure that that stays and that gets strengthened? I think that, in the manifesto of all the political parties, it is something that we should pay some attention to.
Yeah.
Because it's quite important, not just about worker rights, but how do you ensure that we keep our economy robust and robust.
Yeah.
Not thriving, but at least robust. It can handle the shocks, right?
Yeah. Because you will get the alpha from the big MNCs, but the SMEs forms the cushion. That's how you read the situation.
Yes.
That is interesting.
I think
Yes.
being the SME owner myself before,
I need cushion also.
I really kudos to the modern day SME owner. Because when I first started in 2004, my rental Trust Street Shop House 1,500. My salespeople 1,004 plus com. It was a really different era, and we have better margin to play with. But nowadays, everything goes up. Your margin gets stretched.
Yes.
Just one small little misstep can close shop already.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's
which unfortunately, like you said, isn't mentioned in all these manifesto. The closest I can see is actually by Red Dot United, moderate rents for local businesses. And interestingly, this one quite interesting. Tackle late payment.
Very specific.
Late payment is a
specific.
thing.
I think when they were writing it, something happened.
I know.
Triggered.
And every time I write my contracts, then got late payments. No such thing.
Yeah.
It's very hard to litigate.
Very, very good point. The reality is that, well, at least for certain segment or large portion where you talk about retail, F&B, the cost that we find ourselves in right now is just so tight. Exactly like you say, the moment you have a bit of shock, the whole thing told, because you're just balancing on such a knife's edge. You don't have enough profit to even ensure a certain vibrancy. You cannot experiment, so it all becomes very standard right? And some of the businesses who have opened shops in JB, they're saying that they are able to make profits
More fun,
retail,
right? Yeah.
and you can't make profit in Singapore.
Yeah.
And they can experiment.
Yes,
That's
you
why
can
it's more
try,
fun.
you can experiment.
You
because
go to
got
KSL,
more
the
to try.
neighborhood, the whole area, so interesting. Last time they're so boring.
And your vibrancy
Yeah,
because of that. So if you keep pushing the cost up, whether it's rental, whether it's manpower, of course there are other trends at play, right? That you want ensure that our workers get salary increase. But this portion where in the end then it's this middle section, the sandwich class, but not the people, but the business sandwich class, which is the SME, right? That ends up losing all the margins. They are the ones that are being sandwiched because the cost keeps going up. They're not getting additional revenues on top. They get squeezed. So then they become more and more weak. So then as an economy, hiring 70% of people, they no longer are as robust, right? So that's what we...
So then what are some of these SMEs doing? Like in such a situation, right, where everything is getting compressed.
So many are looking at how to go onto life support, right? So either you freeze hiring or you look at how to reduce your cost. That means you reduce your manpower needs here and you hire in other countries, because then you can balance that. And all this isn't because you don't want to support locals. It's just the costs are just
The numbers
just
don't make
priced out.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I think there's a big part of the discussion where there are all these then foreigners coming in, right? Foreign workers or S-Pass, which I think a lot of SMEs rely on them, right? And it is constantly the discussion of the town for the past 20 years. Right? What is the situation there? And I think recently even the PSP even suggested trying to manage e-pass.
Oh yes.
Right? So other than the PAP, which is the government of the day, they have already raised the S-Pass and E-Pass numbers up. So that's a bit more simple lah. That means it's a numbers game, right? You leave it to the market, and then if it's too expensive, then you think of how to hire locals lah, right? So there's that trend.
Yeah.
But I think some of the other parties are going one step further to even talk about forcing skills transfer as part of that whole spiel. But I do think you gotta segment that category in a further segmentation, because the people that come in on E-Pass, maybe they got skills transfer for you. The people coming S-Pass, I don't think they got skills transfer, right? So it's a different category across the board.
Yeah.
But we'd like to hear the situation on the ground with SMEs and all these passes, all these
A
changes.
lot of SME hiring EPs to begin with.
No, I think SP more lah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing is this. I think if you look at my sensei, I didn't go through in detail on the manifestos, right? But in general, I think Singaporeans are generally agreeable that we need foreigners for certain segment of the labor market. Often it is the hands-on carrying
hardship labor
things,
lah.
the hardship, the blue collar part of it, right? So the question, I think that's not really what is being questioned on. Only worry is whether you have enough dorms, you have enough place to accommodate.
Yeah, the previous panel we were talking about, I was arguing that it is increasingly a cause of concern, because when you stuff the country with more and more of the people on work permit and S-Pass, they are humans, they need to live a life. So on the weekends, right, they have taken over Fort Canning, they have taken over Paya Lebar, Mo Kio, you know.
Yes.
And we all see that. I'm not spouting nonsense, right? So it has reached a point where fellow Singaporeans are saying, weekend I cannot go out, this is too crazy, this is too intense, don't know where all these people are coming out from.
Yes.
Right? So it is not about nativism or whatever thing that people want to call you on the trope, but it is just a lived reality that if you have a lot of people that are not being paid the type of wage that like the type of wage that they are making, right? It's like, if your friend tell you make the type of wage, like, how you survive? You know, that's like the energy.
You in NS
Yeah, don't go to NS, don't talk about it, sensitive. But yeah. So you know what I mean, right? It's like, it's very hard. So when you have a whole like million odd of these type of people around that are making this type of wage, you know, it creates a different set of social problems, and it creates social friction in the.
So that is, I think, one way of managing, right?
Yes.
Which is a concern around society issues lah.
Yeah.
I think the main concern that people complain about foreign workers and so on, I think very likely from what I read, is around the
PMET job.
high skill PMET area, because they think that that portion is somehow exclusively given to the foreigners and it's not flowing down. I think that's what we understand lah. So on the SME perspective, very often many are looking at hiring blue collar, because you're in logistics business, you're in F&B, you want to hire waitress, and that's the challenge. And the cost is where that challenge is lah. Right? On the PMET side, EP right now is not cheap. The cost of hiring EP, the base salary is as a point.
6 already. Yeah.
At a point where most SMEs don't consider employment pass holders as part of the strategy, because you rather be looking at offshoring option than to try to bring someone on site, unless there's a very strategic reason lah. I think that I want to add a different facet to this. The different facet we should be looking at is that fundamentally, Singapore as a market is limited in terms of the size, correct? And because of the trade reconfiguration and everything, I think that we really cannot look at just Singapore as a market anymore. No matter whether you are one-man show or you have 500 people, we all our businesses must look at the region, at least ASEAN, as the market. And in such a situation, then maybe we can shift the conversation beyond just about our borders and hire cannot. But you look at, from SME perspective, multiple locations, and you can start to distribute your risk, your costs in a more reasonable fashion. And then you can capture a larger part of the market. And
was there this like consortium idea, the ASME?
So I think that our perspective is that Singaporeans don't like to band together. And because we are so comfortable, Singapore is so comfortable, so advanced compared to the region, we also don't want to go abroad, right? We all want to stay at home because it's so comfortable. But it creates a challenge where when you want to go abroad, you don't cooperate. But if you start looking at the region and the bigger market, you start to realize that you are too small to fight on your own. And naturally, you start to band together a lot more. And I think that when you compare ourselves to Japanese, Koreans, we always say, hey, how come they're always collaborating, they're coming together, right? It's because they don't look at market like we do. We are really like literally frogs in a well, right? But we start looking at the whole region, we will naturally start to think of coming together, and we want to facilitate that as an association.
Okay, fair. So essentially, the cat is out of the bag, right? SMEs are not really hiring EP, right? Most of the part is the SP, and the work permit, and so yeah, it is creating certain social situations. If not, people will not talk about it. If not, it will not appear in manifestos, right? So the fact that these things are appearing, there is a discussion, and we want to further this discussion. So if you have any other questions for us pertaining to these topics, you can put in the comment section, and then we'll pick it up. Maybe it will appear in our another live stream. There will be a lot more that we can go with, But in closing, is there any particular because you came late, right? So I didn't manage to ask this. In closing, is there any particular candidate or anything that you're looking out for that you find interesting for the recent GE?
Yeah, asking me.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm just very intrigued by I just saw it on TikTok. The battle of the goddesses right now that's happening.
But people say they
goddesses?
want to vote for them based on like how chill they are.
Yeah, so you have the right now in Punggol you have the two prettiest candidate, right, in two WP and PAP. Yeah, so I'm just personally thinking that's very intriguing, and I think it causes a lot of people talking.
Unfortunately, that is really how people are voting.
No, okay. So I don't think it's unfortunate. I think it's a reality. So I'm not blind to the idea that people are not always voting on policy. In fact, most people are not voting on policies, right? They vote on the feel good. You only have 9 days to campaign. What can you talk?
Exactly.
Right? So by the time you understand the person's face, it's like, oh, need to tick already, right? So or is it cross? I put a cross, right? So I don't think many people are focusing on policy. That's why we are trying to do this, right? So that we can have some sort of a small little corner of the internet talking about policy, and hopefully we can kind of permeate that. Yeah, but better goddesses. This is beyond my imagination. I never saw that coming.
Better the Oppa also have coming soon.
Really? God, are you the one running the TikTok channel? No.
Especially to that point, I think like very small impression management should happen throughout the years, right? And I think the PAP actually did quite well. I think like from a young person's perspective, I see that they really step up their social media game over the past 4 years, right? Because I think last time it was a bit of a bloodshed. I think WP was a lot stronger with the younger people. But then I think that a lot of the ministers, they stepped out and they had like very professional social media campaigns. I mean like fun social media campaigns. And
cringy one as well.
Cringy, very cringy, but like some of them are quite on point like for the young people. So my friends actually like it, share and stuff, right? So I think this is too short the campaign period, but actually it has started from 4 years ago.
For sure. Yeah,
I think they do. Yeah,
I agree. But I, as much as I am not idealistic or blinded by the idea that people do vote on how they feel about this person, I do hope that we can continue to move forward to discuss policies and the lived realities and do more of these type of panels where this is the part that is totally not discussed in the psyche of the land, right? It's always the workers stand one side, so we want more money. Of course I understand the incentive, and then SME on the other side is like, wow, headache, right? So this discussion, I would like it to continue, right? To continue to see like, okay, so how do we align ourselves, especially in a situation where the world is changing, a lot of MNCs are not hiring, and we all know MNCs pay the best jobs in Singapore at this point in time. And if they are not hiring, then we all have to adjust to a new reality. Can we then build a new wave of companies that, a lot of talent, A level talent are in the MNCs. And if you can then join some of the smaller outfit and grow them, you can be a big part, or you can have a seat on the table.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And SME hires what 60% of the people here in Singapore. If SME struggles, workers also kena.
Yeah. So that is that. Any last things you want to share on this debate? On this panel, not a debate. yeah.
I'm cool. I think just had one point on the senior worker challenge, right? So I was thinking about it. I think if the problem is a lack of jobs, then my team had a bit of a interesting project that we wanted to pilot, right? Where we want to do like a bit of like fiscal policy, but it's actually job injection into the market. And then we wanted to do an appeal, like actually can the government, which is the biggest 150,000 workforce strong, right? Can they be the ones that do this, like set up little projects for our professionals who are like unemployed to come and do a little bit of things to upskill and contribute their skill sets, right? Because I think fundamentally there's a very big gap now between where they came from and where they want to go, and then yet nobody is taking them, like SkillsFuture, everything. The gap is just too big a chasm to cross into a new opportunity. So use this platform to appeal towards that.
The last part I want to add, since you're saying, give me some ideas about this issue that I always thought about. I think we focus a lot on jobs, on skills. I think that if you look at hiring and you look at the gaps and some people who you find, I really cannot hire. Often it's not the skill that's the challenge. It's the mindset, it's the mentality. It's sometimes just the state of mind that a person possess or that they don't possess. And that disables or gives them some kind of handicap in their ability to pick up jobs. They may have a view about themselves, or they're very negative. And the thing is that there isn't a real recognition of this and anything to address this. Because I feel if you address this,
the attempt is like
in,
the WSG career coaching kind of thing, but I think there is a very big gap between what people feel about themselves and the current reality.
It's more a mindset shift of themselves, right? So career coach may be more technical about what suits you. I don't mean that. I mean, if you are very negative about things and you have a learning, you don't realize you have a learning disability, then no matter what skill I put in front of you, you cannot pick it up. You got challenge about picking it up. You may not seek new challenges. That part I feel is...
So I feel like the policies are quite fiscal in nature, right? But then actually what we're looking for is a softer element, like the campaigning or like showing good case studies, right, of people. It's a long tail thing, but then it's necessary to change mindset.
So I want to give the PSP policy a shout out, which is the Millennial Apartment Scheme, right? So that scheme, I think, it can potentially tackle some of these situations, because truth of the matter is we pick up a lot of the way we think and the way we live based on the lived environment that we are in, right? So I'm sure there's a lot of stratification in Singapore, just not often talked about, but I am sure the government is aware, right? Because in certain pockets, I hear it, right? So I know people are aware about this, and to intervene anybody from their lived environment, you got to remove them from their lived environment, give them another place to go. So rather than a pure home owner scheme, which for a long time worked very well, because I think the narrative is we need to give our people invested in the country so that they will fight for the country when there's a need to. I understand that, but I think it's been 60 years, right? We have moved from that, and I do think a lot of people will come back. Of course, not everybody, and of course, you must wait until when shit happens, then you know whether this thing really works, right? But till then, I do think we can start to explore some of these things, like the Millennial Apartment Scheme, where you can essentially, decide certain buildings that can be like university dorms.
Very cool.
Right? And you let working professionals apply.
Yeah.
Right? And then you make them do like how we do in university lah. You have to contribute, join CCA, organize activity, earn points. Then you can be part of the thriving community. May increase total fertility rate,
Actually,
Confirm.
every day you go home, look at your parents. Sorry.
No, but actually that makes so much sense because
Yeah.
I think when we observe like when people get retrenched and everything, right, they realize that their social circle is so small and then their view is very narrow. Then they are not able to break out of their environment, and that's where their mindset solidifies, right?
Yeah.
So to actually expand their horizons, like be it going overseas or that millennial apartment,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. It's like, and I've
like-
met so many people, like a lot of the younger working professionals, they are from overseas. They come here, then they rent those co-living spaces, right? They have a lot of friends, you know.
Yeah.
Because in the co-living spaces, they will organize activities, get to know each other, and they're in an environment where you need to know each other, lah, right? So,
Right.
so in that space, right, their network grow very fast. Like, I mean, yeah, they just know a lot of people. Like, how you know all these people? Oh yeah, this person stays the next block. Oh, we had a party the other day.
Yeah.
And that is what I want to see for a younger generation, right? If we can
Yeah.
build the environment. I mean, of course, I remember when it was brought up in Parliament, some of the PAP candidates were saying, the PAP MPs at that point in time were saying that, oh, the free market is already doing it. I was like, okay, I understand, you know, the co-living spaces are
Right.
everywhere, right? But if we can do a state run, you know, like run it like a public service, right? And then make it very affordable for people to on-ramp
Yeah.
after school, right? You're off-ramp from university, you're on-ramp into such an environment.
Yeah.
You can make so many connections and develop so,
Yeah.
you know, in a
Open your
different...
mind.
You're talking about TFR.
Yeah.
really.
I mean, there's also that
I
potential.
agree.
lah.
And I think that the cost is a very big concern about that directly impacts your TFR, and the
It's
concern about whether you can provide for kids, whether your cost, it really is very big. And I know personally know of many families that have concern or put off having children because they think that they can barely make things meet for themselves, and
Yeah.
it's a
true.
big factor.
They don't want to go back to the grind because it doesn't make sense for them. But yeah, that's a different discussion. We'll move down that part. So yes, thank you all. I love it, and I love how, you know, it's a live case of policies moving into different facets because they all tie together.
Right.
Yes.
Ultimately, we want to build a better Singapore, and that's why we are doing this discussion lah. Okay, so we continue to welcome all parties to come on the show. If you have certain things you want to say, or if you listen to what we say, and you think, oh, I have a different point of view, we welcome you. Give
We
you a
are not a
platform.
rally, come here lah.
Yeah. I'm sure now the rally about to start already.
Oh.
So I wish all of you well, and thank you for your time. We'll see you tomorrow and our next live stream. Tomorrow we are focusing on career versus family. So that's the part that we're going to talk about tomorrow, because it is the major tension for a lot of working professionals. You want us to do well in career, still want us to have kids, then everything's so expensive. How?
How?
Right? So that is
We will talk about the how
yeah,
tomorrow.
We'll talk about the how tomorrow. So stay tuned. We'll see you all. Bye bye. Take care.